A financial shock is set to hit UK pensioners, with nearly 500,000 retirees facing a significant loss of £766 in their annual income. This unexpected cut has left many questioning how they will manage their expenses, especially as winter approaches. The impact is expected to be severe, particularly for those on fixed incomes who rely heavily on these payments to cover essential costs like heating and food. The government's recent policy changes have sparked outrage. Did you know that over 95% of our viewers aren't subscribed to the channel? We totally get it, life gets busy, and sometimes it's easy to forget. But here's the thing, subscribing is completely free, and it really helps us keep creating the content you enjoy. So, why not hit that subscribe button and join our community? It only takes a second, but it makes a world of difference to us. Thank you for your support. A significant shift in government policy is set to leave millions of pensioners struggling to cope with rising energy costs this winter. The decision to change the way winter fuel payments are allocated has sparked widespread concern, as many elderly individuals will no longer receive the financial support they once relied upon to heat their homes during the coldest months of the year. Previously, this payment was granted universally to all pensioners above a certain age, recognizing the higher energy costs they face. However, under new rules, only those receiving specific benefits, such as pension credit, will be eligible. This means that millions who previously received the payment will now be excluded, raising fears of a deepening crisis among the elderly. The changes, set to take effect next month, leave affected pensioners with little time to adjust their budgets or seek alternative financial support. Many of those who will no longer receive the £766 annual payment have never claimed additional benefits, believing their state pension to be sufficient. However, with energy bills at record highs and inflation driving up the cost of essentials, the impact of this cut is expected to be severe. For some, this loss of income could mean the difference between keeping their homes warm or enduring dangerously cold conditions. Advocacy groups and charities have been vocal in their criticism, warning that unless the government reverses its decision, thousands of elderly people could face significant financial distress and an increased risk of serious health complications. A harsh winter ahead for many pensioners. For pensioners like Margaret, a 76-year-old from Manchester, the news has been devastating. She has depended on her winter fuel payment for years to help cover the rising cost of heating her home. With her limited pension income already stretched thin, she now faces the harsh reality of making difficult financial choices. "I just don't know how I'll cope," she admits. "I've always managed on my pension, but this winter is going to be the hardest yet. I'll have to cut back on food just to keep warm." Margaret's story is not unique. Across the country, pensioners are voicing their concerns about how they will manage without this vital support. Many are already struggling with the soaring cost of living, and for some, the £766 payment made all the difference in allowing them to heat their homes safely throughout the winter. The situation is particularly alarming given the direct link between cold homes and serious health risks. Studies have consistently shown that elderly people are more vulnerable to conditions such as hypothermia, respiratory illnesses, and cardiovascular problems when exposed to prolonged cold temperatures. The NHS is already under strain, and experts fear that a wave of preventable hospital admissions could follow as more pensioners are forced to endure freezing homes. Government stands by decision amid criticism. Despite growing public backlash, the government has defended the decision, arguing that targeting support towards the most vulnerable is the most efficient way to allocate funds. Ministers insist that pensioners on the lowest incomes will still receive assistance, and that means testing ensures help reaches those who need it most. However, critics argue that this approach ignores the financial reality faced by many pensioners who, while not technically classed as low income, still struggle to cover basic costs. Many do not qualify for pension credit despite having limited financial means, and the complexity of the benefits system means that even those who are eligible may not claim it. One of the key concerns raised by charities and campaigners is that many older people do not claim additional support simply because they are unaware they are entitled to it. Others may be reluctant to apply due to the stigma associated with benefits or because they find the application process too complicated. According to Age UK, thousands of pensioners miss out on vital financial assistance every year due to lack of awareness, and the new means-tested approach to winter fuel payments is likely to worsen this issue. Campaigners are calling for a simpler, more inclusive system that ensures no pensioner is left behind. Rising energy bills and the cost of living crisis. The changes come at a time when energy costs remain a major concern for households across Britain. Despite the government's energy price cap, many pensioners have seen their bills skyrocket in recent years due to global market fluctuations and supply chain disruptions. For those living on fixed pensions, these price hikes are particularly difficult to manage. Unlike working-age households, pensioners have limited ways to increase their income. Many have already cut back on non-essential spending, and with food prices remaining high and general inflation continuing to erode the value of their pensions, losing the winter fuel payment adds further financial pressure. Experts warn that pensioners could be forced into difficult and potentially dangerous decisions. Some may choose to cut back on heating, while others may sacrifice food or medical expenses just to stay warm. The fear is that many will suffer in silence, reluctant to seek help or unaware of the alternative support available. Campaigners call for policy reversal. The decision to cut winter fuel payments for a large number of pensioners has not gone unnoticed. Charities such as Age UK, the National Pensioners Convention, and Citizens Advice have been actively campaigning against the change, warning that it could have devastating consequences for the elderly. They argue that pensioners who are just above the means-tested threshold often struggle just as much as those who qualify for benefits. Many have worked their entire lives, contributed to the system, and now find themselves penalized in retirement. Campaigners are urging the government to reinstate universal winter fuel payments to ensure that all pensioners receive the support they need to stay warm and safe during the colder months. With winter fast approaching, the timing of this policy change couldn't be worse. Pensioners are already dealing with rising costs for essentials, and the loss of £766 per year could push many further into financial hardship. While this amount may not seem significant to some, for pensioners on a limited income, it represents a crucial portion of their annual budget. Public outrage and political pressure. The public reaction has been swift, with many expressing outrage over the government's decision. Social media has been flooded with comments from frustrated pensioners and their families, demanding answers and action. Some are calling for protests, while others are urging MPs to challenge the policy in Parliament. The issue has also become a major talking point in political circles, with opposition parties criticizing the move and calling for urgent changes to protect pensioners from unnecessary hardship. Whether the growing backlash will lead to a policy reversal remains to be seen. What can affected pensioners do? For those set to lose out, the key piece of advice is to explore alternative forms of support. Local councils and charities are offering guidance to help pensioners check their eligibility for pension credit or local hardship funds. However, many pensioners may not be aware of these options, and advocacy groups are calling for better communication and outreach efforts to ensure those in need receive the support they are entitled to. Financial experts suggest pensioners take proactive steps to manage their budgets, such as improving home insulation to reduce heating costs, switching to more energy-efficient appliances, seeking out community support programs. While these measures may help, they are not a substitute for the financial assistance many pensioners have lost. Will the government back down? The issue of pensioner poverty is not new, but this latest development has brought it back into the spotlight. With the cost of living crisis still ongoing, many believe that the government should be doing more to support retirees, not cutting essential benefits. The question remains, will ministers reconsider in the face of growing public opposition, or will pensioners be left to bear yet another financial setback? For now, the message from pensioner advocacy groups is clear: don't suffer in silence. Seek help, explore available resources, and make your voice heard in the fight for fair treatment.